Thanks. So, hi everyone. I'm very happy to be here today to tell you more about the Inspire Laboratory. And my name is Ariane Gauthier. I'm a research assistant here in the lab, and I'm also a PhD student at the School of Psychology. And I'm here today to tell you more about what's the Inspire Lab and what we can actually do for you as grad students and as researchers. So as a fellow grad student, I know the struggles of going through grad school and spending so much time designing those studies and trying to answer those questions and trying to figure out like how are we going to do it, where are we going to do it, and with who we can test those questions. And so that's in that mindset that we designed the Inspire Lab to really give the possibility to the grad students and to researchers, just to give them the tools to actually be able to work on those studies and to answer those questions. So the Inspire Lab has two main components. Sorry, wrong way. We do have a research space that is available for grad students to use and as well for researchers to conduct those research. And I'm going to get a bit into more like later on. And then we do also have a participant recruitment pool, because if some, I don't know how many of you guys actually like have done research with human participants, but some we know that really recruiting those participants can be an hassle, and that's why we're just really trying to help you guys with that part. So, okay, let's make this real. Let's say that you want to see the impact of being exposed to conspiracy theory on social media, and you want to see your participants' reaction to those videos, and you want to see with questionnaire how your participants are going to react to them, and you want to also see what are their physiological response in real time. You want to see if that creates some type of arousal and how your participants are going to just, whether or not they're going to be disturbed or how they deal with that. So let's say you're like, okay, that's a great research idea. How can I do this? That's when I'm going to talk to you about our research space. So I'm going to show you a short video that is going to show you really an overview of the lab space we have in the lab, and then we're going to get a bit more into it. So let's do this.
The Inspire Lab is designed to give researchers the resources to explore questions from various fields related to human behavior. Inspire stands for an integrated neurocognitive and social psychophysiology interdisciplinary research environment. The Inspire Lab facilities are equipped with leading-edge technology and enables researchers to explore questions at the intersection of neuroscience and social sciences. Our researchers can capture, in real time, cognitive, social, and physiological responses to stimuli presented by means of computer-driven presentation technologies. In addition to capturing this information, our researchers are also assessing participants' perceptions, opinions, thought processes, and emotions in response to various stimuli. The Inspire Lab plays an active role in placing the University of Ottawa at the forefront of research at the intersection of social sciences and neuroscience.
Donc là, je vais faire aussi une petite partie en français. Donc, comme on a vu dans la vidéo, je vais vous donner, dans le fond, c'est ça, qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire dans le laboratoire. On n'a pas besoin de faire de la collecte de données physiologiques pour utiliser l'espace de laboratoire. Si, mettons, comme ta recherche, si tu ne vois pas comment tu peux intégrer la composante en physio, mais que tu as besoin d'avoir un espace pour faire le testing, ça peut le faire, comme il y en a qui font juste présenter leurs tâches expérimentales ou faire remplir leur questionnaire en laboratoire. Ça permet aussi d'observer les participants à distance dans un contexte où on va avoir plus de contrôle en fait sur l'environnement dans lequel les participants vont compléter le questionnaire ou votre étude en général. Dans le fond, ce que ça permet de faire, c'est vraiment d'observer à distance et de contrôler ça. Ça permet aussi de voir les interactions sociales qu'il y a, mettons, entre les participants de l'étude ou encore entre le participant et l'assistant de recherche. On peut faire des enregistrements audio ou vidéo des participants. Puis, c'est ça, comme j'ai dit un petit peu plus tôt, ça permet de tester aussi plusieurs participants en même temps, ce qui peut être un gros avantage, en fait, si vous êtes dans un laboratoire un peu comme le mien ou comme notre salle de testing, elle ressemble plus à un garde-robe qu'à une salle de testing. Donc, c'est un endroit qui est plus convivial, en fait, pour tester les participants en partant, mais aussi pour en tester plusieurs, ce qui facilite, en fait, la collecte de données. Puis, ça permet aussi, c'est ça, de rendre des données physiologiques en temps réel pendant qu'on présente l'expérience. Donc, là, je ne vais pas rentrer dans les détails dans le type de mesures physiologiques qu'on peut prendre dans le laboratoire. Si il y en a que ça peut intéresser, je vais vous inviter à nous envoyer un courriel à l'adresse que je vais mettre à la fin de la présentation. Mais pour ceux qui sont peut-être plus connaisseurs dans le domaine, juste pour que vous puissiez savoir en fait qu'est-ce que vous pouvez faire. Donc, on a des mesures de electrodermal activity, de heart rate variability, de respiratory rate, cardiac impedance, de facial electromyography. Puis, on a aussi du eye tracking. Donc, les premières mesures permettent plus de voir, mettons, des mesures de stress versus la dernière mesure comme le eye tracking. Ça permet en fait plus de voir, mettons, ce que les participants vont porter attention puis regarder. Mais ça, on va en parler un petit peu plus tard. Donc, we do have like various types of testing room. This one is like our most common one. As you can see, we have like 4 stations on site to just really test the participants. We do have 4 rooms like this. And so on each station, so for each participant, you do have like 2 computers, 2 monitors, as well as all the equipment to take and record those physiological measures. But for the eye tracking, since we do have like a specified room for that. And so we also have a control room that is hooked up to each testing room. So actually from a control room, you can see what's happening in 2 testing rooms. So we do have 2 screens. On each screen, you can see what's happening in a specified room. So yeah, on the other screen, you would see what's happening in the other one. And from this screen, you can actually control your participants' computer from here. You can talk to your participants through your headphones. You can see their physiological response in real life from a distance. So that gives you the opportunity to really just control what's happening in the testing room without being there. So we do have the eye tracking room with 2 eye trackers. And let's say that you want to just see, you designed an advertisement and you want to see where your participants are looking. You want to see if what you designed is actually effective and what is meant to catch a participant attention is actually catching their attention. So what you could do is actually just put your advertisement there, bring them in the eye tracker and see where they tend to look first, second, and really see if that's working. Then you could actually have a questionnaire on the side to see like whether or not you caught their attention at the right place and if where they're looking matches what they report remembering at the end. Per se. And we do also have the focus group room that just looks like a big conference room, well, a small conference room. I'm not going to pretend it's big, but you could test up to 6 participants at the same time. Each seat have a computer and you also have a smart board. So let's say that you want to do like a focus group, you want the participants to interact together, and then you could ask them to complete the questionnaire. Just to go back a bit about that example I gave you earlier about like the conspiracy theory videos, I kind of forgot to tell you like how that would look in that specific room. But let's say that you could show your participants the video on one screen, and you could use let's say the electrodermal activity measure with electrodes. You could hook them up on the computer and then see in real time as you're playing the videos how they would react. So I just wanted to go back and just show you guys like that's something that could actually be done in the lab. So yeah, I went over that. And we do have the single suite with basically looks like a small testing room with one computer. And if you don't need all that fancy stuff to conduct your experiment, but you still need a room to do some testing, whether or not it's just like doing some interviews, a one-on-one, or you need just to be able to sit down with your participants and take video recording, that could be a room that you could use. So let's say that you hear all of that and you're like, okay, I'm in. So what's the next step? First of all, send us an email. I have an idea of what you want to do. You don't have to have everything down on paper, but maybe you want to exchange some ideas and see what you could do, if we could help you. But of course, if you don't have any clue, we cannot help you. But that's why we also suggest that you contact us before submitting ethics. So once again, I don't know how many of you actually worked with human participants, like where you need to submit ethics, but that's a long process, and you don't want to have to do it twice or just have to submit changes, because then you have to ask them. So that's why we ask you that before submitting, you just contact us so you're sure that the tools you might want to use are actually doing what you think are doing, and that you are using the right tools as well to measure what you want to see. And you also need to have your experiment approved by our manager. And once that's done and you have ethics approval, you can send us an email and you're good to go and to book some time slots and start testing in the lab. Just to give you like an overview of like how many researchers actually use our space, in 2017 we did have like over 5,000 hours of reserved time slots. So researchers that booked some testing place, yeah. And we do have 10 to 15 researchers each term that use our space for the testing. We do have researchers in psychology. We do have a few researchers in communication and hope to have some more. And on site, we do have a team of research assistants that is there to help you with technical support and troubleshooting some issues that might arise during data collection. We're also there to do some training. Let's say that you never use electrodes to do the EDA. Well, we are there to show you how to place them and to really plug them on the software, and to maybe just make sure that you're able to run your experiment and that you can then do that with your participants. And we also have the ePrime software. We also have we work with MindAware for the physiological data collection. And we also have a Qualtrics license that comes when you you have a membership with the lab, which is a survey platform that works pretty well. So the next step, if that's something that would interest you, like talk to your supervisor, because at Inspire Lab, we're core facility, and the university does cover over like 95% of the fees, but there's a membership fee. Well, I said for communication, but that's actually for anybody that would like to use our space. And the fees are actually, that starts at $300, but my point is that's not on you to pay it. That's something you want to talk with your supervisor, and your supervisor should be the one paying that. And that's when they pay for the membership, that actually covers everybody in your lab. So let's say that you have a lab mate that also wants to use the lab. They don't have to pay any more than this. And yeah, so let's say that you're like, okay, well, that sounds good. But who am I going to test in those rooms? So that's why we also have a participant pool to help you with participant recruitment. So our participant pool is also known as the integrated system for participation in research. And maybe some of you have actually been participants in the pool if you took some intro to psychology classes, or if you were in some like communication classes that are actually linked to the ISPR. But we have been up and running since 2006, and we do have over 3,000 participants each term. And yeah, and the participants that are enrolled and take part in the ISPR are actually psychology, communication, and linguistic students. Well, actually students taking some of those courses. And just to give you an idea of the participants, like where they come from, we have about 30% of international students in the pool. Of course, most of the students are actually from Ontario, and the remainder is from Quebec or other provinces. Most participants are available to participate in research in English, but we do have over like 36% participants that are actually available to complete some research in both languages. So that just gives you an idea of the type of how our pool looks like. So let's say that you want to put your study on the ISPR. You may wonder, okay, is my study like suited to go on there? So on the ISPR, we do host in-person and online studies. So no matter if it's just a survey, but you need to recruit some participants, you can also use the ISPR, as well as if you're using some of our lab space, that you could also use the system to do the recruitment. So usually the study that are hosted on the system usually last less than 2 hours and are 1 or 2 part studies. If you want to run the longitudinal study, so let's say you want to do a 3-part studies that spans over 6 months, and you want to collect some data after 2 months and have another part at 6 months, you could actually use the ISPR to recruit for the first 2 parts, but for that last part, you could not, you could actually use the ISPR to recruit for those parts, but then you would need to have the ethics and the right to actually ask your participants their information to contact them later on, because how we're working is actually we open the system for recruitment 1 week after the beginning of classes, but we close at the end of classes. So that gives researchers about 3 months to recruit participants in a term, but when the next term is going to begin, you have no insurance that the same participants are going to stay in the pool. So that's why you could use it for the first part, but will need to work on your own for the last part. And you can do all the scheduling for your experiment and the point renting in the system. And really, it's getting the approval to work your ethics approval is the biggest delay, because once you have it, we create you an account, and it's pretty easy to just put your study up there and to start recruiting participants. So, and maybe some of you are actually working with some very specific population, and let's say that you want to recruit participants that are using a given social media but spend over minimum 5 hours per day, and you want to really just test those participants, and you don't want to test a bunch of participants and have to dig in your data to find the participants that you were actually looking for. We do have a pre-screen questionnaire for that, and we do have 30-ish permanent demographic questions that stays there. But we also, at the beginning of each term, ask researchers to submit to us their question that they might want to use as inclusion or exclusion criteria, and they can add this actually to their study. And like that, they can actually, their study is only going to be available for participants who fit their criteria. So I know I probably went over this very quickly, and you probably have some questions, and it's okay if you don't want to ask them now. Just know that you can always send us an email at inspire@uottawa.ca. We're available to answer your questions from Monday to Friday from 9 to 4 p.m. The lab space, I did not mention it earlier, but we're located in Vanier on the 5th floor, so next to the FSS building. And we do, the research assistants do have an office next to the testing rooms. So we're always there if you have questions, when it's not COVID, of course, to help you with the stuff, of course, during office hours. And otherwise, you can always stop by in person or by phone, of course, when our offices are open. But we're really there to help you. That's my point. And please feel free to send us an email if you have any questions. So if any people have some questions right now, I might also take them, but yeah, that's all.
Alors, merci Ariane pour cette très informative présentation et une présentation intéressante. Si vous avez des questions, comme Ariane a dit, vous pouvez les poser soit haute voix ou sinon dans le chat. So thank you very much, Ariane, for that very interesting and informative presentation. The Inspire Lab certainly seems very busy and popular. If you have any questions for Ariane, you're welcome to ask them out loud by unmuting your microphone, or if you would prefer, you can write them in the chat.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know if you can you hear me, Jen? Yes. So, merci Ariane pour ta présentation. Alors, je voulais juste souligner pour ceux qui sont ici aujourd'hui que quand j'ai fait mon doctorat, j'ai réussi avec l'aide du laboratoire Inspire et ici du Participant Pool, j'ai non seulement pu faire mes projets de recherche reliés directement à ma thèse, mais ça m'a aussi permis de commencer et de collaborer sur des projets à part. Et à cause de ça, j'ai pu agrandir mon dossier de recherche. Alors, même si pour votre projet principal, vous ne voyez pas nécessairement un lien avec les services à Inspire, si jamais vous pensez comme un autre projet que vous aimeriez faire qui n'est pas relié à la thèse, Inspire, comme Ariane a mentionné, toutes les ressources qu'ils ont peuvent vous aider avec le recrutement, le design, ethics, tout. Alors, je vous encourage fortement, même si ce n'est pas votre projet principal, de commencer des side projects. So, anyway, that's not really a question. Sorry, it was a plug. Use the Inspire Lab. Our department pays for it. You have memberships there. But sorry, anyway.
Thank you, Meredith. I think Eliza also has a question.
Yes, so now I have two questions now. My first one is, how are you operating now with the COVID-19 restrictions? Are you still operating online only? That's my first part. And then now my second part is, if we are conducting side projects with a very niche population, but we want help just with the ethics portion, and we might be doing our interviews elsewhere if we have to travel once that's legal again, is that also something you provide, just the ethics advice portion? So those are my two questions.
Okay, so for the first part, for COVID, of course, like right now, most of our operations are online. Technically, the lab is open and available, but you need to have ethics to test participants in person and to really demonstrate that it's like you need to do this research right now. So I would say that we don't have any not participants, but researchers using the lab. And the other thing that I would think of is, even if you would get ethics for that, probably that getting participants would be actually hard, because we do have a lot of undergrads that stayed at the parents, so are not necessarily in the region. But yes, technically yes, you could test in person. I'm sorry, I think Simon actually just put a link in the chat that might answer your questions. Thank you, Simon. And otherwise, for ethics, we provide some kind of guidelines, but I would say that it's mostly something we're currently working on. Thank you, Simon. It's something we're currently developing, but we're not like totally done yet, but I'm gonna let Simon take the reign on this.
Hi, everyone. I'm the guy from the video. So I'm just going to go out and say we will always be there to help you with ethics, regardless if you're going to run a project. Helping students is also our thing. There's no fee for that. There's no rule for that. We'll just help you if you reach out to us for help, especially for something as complicated as writing an ethics application. We can give you, I mean, if you need us to sit down with you and write it with you, that's another issue. But if you're looking for pointers, you're looking for help in any of these situations, we'll for sure, either myself or my team can definitely help students in that aspect for sure. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you, Ariane, but I could see that this was outside the perimeter.
Thank you.
Great, thank you both.
I also had a quick question. Alors,
Yeah.
plusieurs de nos étudiants au doctorat sont des professeurs à temps partiel. De plus, on a des profs à temps partiel et à temps plein en ligne maintenant ou qui vont certainement regarder cette vidéo après. Si, comme professeur et étudiant ou étudiante, on a des étudiants dans nos cours qui font des projets de recherche comme à l'intérieur de nos cours, est-ce qu'il y a une manière de travailler avec Inspire Lab s'ils veulent l'utiliser ou s'ils sont intéressés, par exemple, pour faire des entrevues ou pour faire, même pour utiliser Qualtrics au lieu de SurveyMonkey ou quelque chose comme ça?
Mettons, si on prend, là, il y aurait deux composantes. Mettons, si on prend le système de recrutement, le département de communication a actually comme une entente pour que c'est gratuit pour les étudiants, pour le monde de communication du département pour faire le recrutement. Puis, pour la deuxième partie, je vais laisser Simon dans les technicalités de la chose.
C'est bon, Ariane, tu faisais du super beau travail. I'll answer in both French and English to make sure that this is super clear. But en français, the issue is your ethics approval. Donc, dans le contexte d'un cours, je suis très familier parce que j'enseigne moi-même les cours de méthode de recherche. Donc, il y a le processus d'approbation pour les cours de méthode des cours d'enseignement. C'est que le prof reçoit l'approbation éthique pour superviser les projets. Puis, ça doit être des projets à risque minimal. Et souvent, les étudiants dans le cours n'ont pas la permission explicite d'utiliser le SIPR. So the problem when teaching is that the students if you're doing research within a course, you don't have specific approval to recruit within the ISPR, and that can be the issue. And also, sometimes the students in training, especially if it's an undergrad research class, if that, Jennifer, is what you're referring to, sometimes because it's students in training, the quality of the research isn't on par, so using that in the ISPR is more complicated unless you have specific access. So it's not a complete no, but it's a rare that will use the ISPR for student projects. It's going to be for your honors thesis, for your PhD project, for sure. But if it's a learning experience, in my personal teaching experience, I just have students recruit in their social environment. Just use the snowball sampling and just recruit your friends. And that's how they actually learn how hard it is to recruit people. And then they appreciate the impact of something like a subject pool, in a nutshell.
Merci à vous deux pour vos réponses. Are there any other questions for Ariane about the Inspire Lab or for Simon while he's online? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to thank Ariane for her fantastic presentation and Simon as well for the information that was provided.